Well, thank you very much. I'm delighted to have with us Susan Lyons, who's a patient of one of our really important products in emergency care. And so, Susan, can you tell us how your day started out before you knew you needed this treatment?
It was June 19th, this past June, and it was a normal morning for me. I'm retired. I was a private investigator, and I'm not doing that work anymore. And I was retired, and I got up nice and late, about 8:30, and I was sitting in my living room with my cell phone checking my emails. And I was there about maybe 45 minutes when all of a sudden I felt like I was on a roller coaster ride. I felt this wavy sensation. I didn't have any chest pains. I had no pains in my arm, nothing shooting down my arm. I began to shake, and I thought to myself, oh, this is way off. There's something here is not right. So I called the person I live with, and I said, I think maybe you better come home because I'm not feeling well. Something is seriously wrong. And she said, well, is it your head? Is it your stomach? Is it your foot? I said, I can't talk to you, and I hung up. I dialed 911, and I said, my name is Susan Lyons. I gave my address, and I said, I think I'm dying. I think I'm having a heart attack. And that's the last thing that I remember at that moment. What I have been told since then from all of the people that responded, there were 12 responders that came to my house, is that when they arrived at my home, I was unconscious, I was having a full seizure, and I was chewing my tongue. And so obviously I was not getting any air to my brain. And they began CPR, my own hometown responders, but a neighboring town happened to have my favorite machine in the whole wide world, the Lucas machine. And they came in, and from what I understand, it was one of those scenes of stand back, we've got the machine, and they put the Lucas machine on me and restored a lot of my circulation, and my heart began beating again, only temporarily, sadly. They worked on me in my living room for about, I'm going to say, 45 minutes. But I want to digress for a second. The fire chief in my town is a friend of mine, and that morning when he got up, he was standing at his kitchen sink and he was filling his coffee pot with water. And while he was at his kitchen window, bam, a bird hit his window, and he thought, what the heck was that? And he went outside from his deck and he looked, and the bird was on the ground. It was all messed up from hitting the window, and then it flew away. And he said he thought to himself, somebody I know is going to have a very bad day, but they're going to be okay.
Wow.
He got my call no less than 10 minutes later. So they worked on me in the living room. From what I understand, I do know that they have the chart of my heart pattern, but I haven't wanted to look at it yet. But after today, I feel much braver, and I think I probably will look at it. But they said that I was not breathing, and I died literally about 3 times in my living room, and they kept bringing me back. They had the Lucas machine on me, but they had to use the paddles. They finally stabilized me and were able to carry me out. It took 12 of them because of the way the house that I live in, there's a deck. So they had to get me out of the deck and down some steps and into the ambulance. And my friend, the fire chief, told me that when they put me in the ambulance, they had continued with the Lucas machine. And he told the gentlemen that were working on me, a gentleman and a woman, do not stop working on her. I have a good feeling about this, all because of that bird. So I was told since then that I died 8 times in that ambulance en route to the emergency room. The good news is I'm here today, and even better news, when they got me to the emergency room, they said I was moaning and screaming, and I'm sure that has something to do with cracked ribs. But quite frankly, I'll be honest with all of you, I'll take a cracked rib any day over the other alternative. So The cardiologist that worked on me, I ended up being transported to UMass Medical Center in Worcester, Massachusetts, and they did a stent operation. They ran it through my arm and opened up that artery. I had what they call the widowmaker. I was 80% blocked, and everyone that has worked on me and every single person that had anything to do with anything that day, number one, did their job right. Number two, if one thing had gone wrong in that whole day, that whole morning, I wouldn't be here with all of you telling you this story. I wouldn't be alive. And that Lucas machine was exactly what I really needed, and I'm sure others do. Since then, I have given the 12 responders that responded that day pins. It was very emotional for me to actually see them when they came in. I didn't even know who they were because I was unconscious. They came in and they saw me, and it was hugs and lots of tears and joy. And I'm here today, and I believe I'm here because of probably one of the most advanced and one of the best inventions ever made. And I want to thank everybody here. If there are people here from the Stryker organization, please know that everything you do makes a big difference.
So Susan, I have to thank you. It takes an enormous amount of courage to tell your story.
Yeah.
It inspires all of us. Just to give you a moment, I'm going to talk a little bit about the product.
Yep.
So it's on display on the shelf in the back there. It's called Lucas, and that's actually an acronym. It's called the Lund University Cardiopulmonary Assist System, LUCKS. And Lund is a city in Sweden, and the Lund University, that's where this idea came for, to have a device that does automatic CPR. And the benefit of automatic CPR, the first benefit is it goes to the absolute correct depth and the right number of times. And she mentioned having rib pain. CPR, you're supposed to go deeper than most people do when they do manual CPR. The other benefit of CPR, not only does it benefit Susan and patients, but the caregivers, the emergency medical technicians, they don't have to be doing it because the machine's doing it. So when they get in the ambulance, they can safely sit down and put on a seatbelt. It can be going on while she's going downstairs. It's automatically providing the CPR. So it is an absolutely amazing product. We've had some patients go as long as 2 hours. And can you imagine if they have to trade, because after about a minute you're exhausted, and then someone else has to jump in.
And that time between there.
The time between is hysterically
That's
risky.
Critical.
So that's the power of this medical technology innovation. Of course, that's the beauty of our industry is we provide these kind of devices. Can you tell me, what did it feel like when you woke up? Do you remember what it felt like?
Oh, when I woke up, I was in intensive care at UMass Medical Center. Of course, it was the what happened to me moment, and they told me that I had had a massive heart attack. I had what they call the widowmaker, and I was gathered around by a lot of nurses, and there were a few doctors mingling around in the background, but the general consensus was, they all said, you should be very glad that you're alive, and you have to really honestly look at this as what are you going to do with the rest of your life, because prior to having a machine that worked on you, the Lucas machine, you most likely, we're very certain that you wouldn't be here today. And I have good news, and the good news is I live in a little town in central Massachusetts called North Brookfield, and we received our Lucas machine a couple of days ago, and our squad is being trained on it tomorrow. So
that's wonderful news.
So we're very happy that now we don't have to worry about a neighboring town responding. So I look at life now very differently.
It's an amazing story, and Stryker, this is one of those examples of us bringing a technology through an acquisition. So we acquired a company called Physio Control about 4 years ago, which makes defibrillators, and we acquired that company because we provide the yellow stretchers that you see on the side of football games, etc., the Stryker stretchers, which are fairly ubiquitous. And the next sort of most important item in the back of the ambulance is defibrillators. But when we did the acquisition, we found this Lucas product, and we realized this is an incredible, should be a standard of care, and we're trying to get that. And one thing Stryker does well, given our size, is we can really sell and get these penetrated throughout the country and throughout the world. And this is the third version of the product with longer battery life. And
3.1.
3.1, see, there you go. Got a product expert up here. She
I read
actually
the
operates,
specs.
she knows how to operate the device too, which is pretty good.
I do.
So anything else you want to share with the audience? This is a whole, we're all committed to doing this, but we don't always get a chance to meet patients. And what did you think about the medical device industry before? And do you have a different view of it now? Or what did you know about it?
Well, I didn't know about it. And I'm finding that most people don't know about it, because when you have an event like that, all you know is you wake up. That not everyone is as inquisitive as I am. Why am I alive? And finding out exactly why I was alive. So one of the things that I've thought to myself is that really honestly, I wish every rescue squad in every town in this country, and actually all over the world, had this as standard equipment, just like the blood pressure. What do you call it? Blood pressure?
Blood pressure cuffs.
Yeah, cuff. That's the word I was looking for. They say that had I been deprived of more oxygen, I would have had brain damage. So I won't lie. I use that as an excuse if I forget the words like cuff. So that seems to be working very well for me, especially when I forget to stop and pick things up on the way home. But I can tell you that from my heart, I want to thank Kevin and everyone here from Stryker, who's been so wonderful to me, and to Sharon. Sharon was the person that I called that morning, and that gave me the big question of what it was. And she's taken very good care of me since then. I'm in cardiac rehab now. They're saying that I'm way ahead of recuperation, that I'm doing great, and I honestly feel that I have a new lease on life. And I can't thank all of you for the contribution you make, regardless of how small you may think it is. It is huge in the big picture, because you are saving lives every single day. And so please don't forget that when that alarm goes off in the morning and you don't want to go to work. I need you to go to work.
Well, thank you so much. It's just
You're very
great for you to
welcome.
tell your story. I know it's got to be hard, because you actually...
It's emotional.
Yeah, you end up reliving it, and it's not easy. And so
No.
we deeply, deeply appreciate you sharing your story. And
Very happy to be here.
You're a wonderful spokesperson for the industry.
Oh,
and
thank you.
we plan to have you back and to talk to more teams.
I'd be glad to.
Thank you very
Anytime.
much.
Thank you all. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you so much.